going on, guys? So let me first off start off by saying that I apologize for not having a video last week. I got hit with a bunch of demands for doing a season finale for The Arrow, and then after that video, my family came into town and I didn't make any videos. So apologies, and that's the reason why this says, I think, episode 8 and 9, we're doing a review. So I'm going to do a quickie review of episode 8, and then we're going to jump into 9 because they kind of tie together. But if you were the only one that felt like you were upset that I didn't make an iZombie movie, freaking Raul, aka Robbie himself, let it be known his thoughts of me not posting an iZombie video. So you weren't alone. I thought it was hilarious. But yes, here it is. We are going to jump in to doing a quickie review. Let's go ahead and do this. Alright, some things about episode 8 that I thought were awesome and I didn't like. One, that episode last week reminded me how much I hate prank videos. Like, I'm not a fan of prank videos. Now, I'm okay with the ones where they're like, you're really close friends, and maybe, you know, and you guys aren't gonna hate each other after something happens, and they're like, kind of like solid pranks. But the ones where it involves people that are not your friends and you don't know anything about them and they're not fake pranks, that you just look like a super douche, and that's exactly what this guy came off across in the episode 8 video of the prank ones. Like, he was a super douche, and then the reason why he got killed, I wasn't sad. I was like, that's a fucked up thing to do to the guy that was supposedly to be your friend, and yeah. It's very hard for me to defend a prankster when he went over the edge and slept with one of his friend's wives, and she had a baby of his. Like, super fucked up. So again, I am not a fan of prank videos, and that is exactly what this episode reminded me of. A second thing I want to talk about is that helicopter explosion. Like, are you serious? Like that? I was not expecting a freaking helicopter to explode and kill some people on this damn show, but I'm gonna tell you guys, I don't know if that was real. And what I mean by that is I think it might be a freaking setup, and we're gonna talk about that when I review the episode 9, but because I feel like something fishy is going on here. Third thing about freaking episode 8 that I kind of didn't like was Liv and Justin. And don't try to hit me with no freaking race thing. You're like, oh, you're racist because you don't want them to be together. No, it's not that I don't give a damn about any of that. I don't care. But what I'm talking about is I want Liv and Major to be together because they were right there, and then the cure got taken away from them, and just because you can't find the cure, you're gonna give up on that whole relationship? Like, what? No, 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 no. And plus, I kind of like Justin's character, and Liv, every zombie she's dated, has died. So yeah, I'm kind of like looking out for Justin at the same time. So what? But seriously though, I do really want Liv and Major to get together because they were this close, and then somebody freaking stole the cure. Fourth thing about episode 8 that I thought was pretty awesome was freaking Gangsta Blaine, because he was like literally and figuratively super gangster in this episode. Like, he came back with a vengeance, and he fucked up his whole dad's organization and all that stuff. He took back his empire, he got a bigger empire, and the way he took his dad out was gangsta. First, he became a zombie again because he already got shot. Like, I kind of knew that was gonna happen because he was on the verge of dying. He knew if he becomes a zombie again, it's all good. So he became a zombie, freaking end up taking out all his dad's dudes, ends up tying his dad up to a well and dropping him in there. And I gotta say, Blaine, bro, why are you gonna do that? Why is this thing about villains or other people allowing their enemies to live? Why do they do that? I know he probably wants to torture his dad because his dad was a really shitty dad and all that jazz, but you're gonna put him in a well that you can't see what he's doing? And I know we saw him talk to him in the freaking next episode. He wasn't actually talking to him, but you know what I mean. Blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I was getting a little excited there because I'm just like, you know that Blaine's dad's gonna get out, right? Like, we know that. Like, there's no way. Blaine's gonna think it's all chill and everything's good, but I guarantee you his dad's down there freaking trying to break the cement off of his legs, and he's like digging his way out or something like that, and Blaine's gonna find that out later on in the episode, or I should say the season, and we just know the Blaine versus his dad whole situation is gonna keep happening. Like, you should have just killed him, Blaine. Last thing about episode 8 was I was actually more scared for Ravi going to that freaking zombie meeting than I was Liv, because it just looked like they were going into like a white supremacist meeting. Like, I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, protect the brown guy. Like, even if Liv was gonna get caught as a zombie, at least she's got zombie powers. Ravi's only got the power of his mind. Actually, that actually saved him in the next episode, or I should say it saved zombies in the next episode. But yeah, I was kind of worried about there. But one thing we found out is once he actually went into the meeting, from episode 9, but when we watched episode 9, we found out that this meeting was very diverse in hatred. So yeah, anyways, that's pretty much the main topics I wanted to say about episode 8. So let's go ahead and jump into episode 9. So like I said, Ravi went to this hate group and we were finding out that they're actually going to start like surveying all the Chaos Killer victims because they believe that they're all zombies, and they're going to try to, like, you know, they want people to watch them and possibly kidnap them. And we saw that guy, the security guard, said he wasn't signing up for kidnapping, and everybody else was all like, oh, grow a pair, and you know, everybody's getting all mad, and we're like, we got to take these things out. And it was really crazy, but luckily Ravi was all like, look, I've been there, I've freaking examined some of these zombies or whatever, like, you need to chill out, like, I'm on the verge of a cure. So luckily he was able to buy them some time, or should buy zombies some time, I should say, with his clever, quick thinking before all these happy trigger people wanted to shoot him. But did you see how crazy they pulled out their guns when he said he was a cop? They were like, whoa, people will kill you! Which makes me think that those people are maybe not that bright. Remember, his wife had just left the freaking meeting. If he wouldn't have come home, she would have known exactly who to go to. Come on, guys! You can't just shoot people dead automatically because they're cops and stuff. You gotta be smarter than this. But one thing I want to mention from this freaking meeting is, ooh, did you guys see Rachel, the new character that Ravi was talking to, that she gave him a ride home on her bike? Like, hoo-hoo, Ravi! Bro, please tell me that you guys are gonna be hanging out in later episodes and possibly dating, because Rachel is hella cute. I know I wasn't the only one that thought that. She gave off this, like, cool chick vibe, and it's always a cool vibe, you know what I mean? But Rachel's like, I feel like she said she was there to, like, photography, you know, be a photographer and stuff. So I feel like she's not into all of the violence and stuff. She just wants to see some cool zombie shit. And I'm all like, that is awesome. Hopefully she becomes a friend of Ravi and, you know, freaking Liv and everybody else. Because, man, you can never get enough cute girls on this show. And Rachel's hella cute. But let's go ahead and talk about the mystery of this episode, because I think this was one of the funner episodes that we've had. I mean, I always like when Liv gets into, like, the weird, like, adult kind of episodes, you know, like the dominatrix one and all that kind of stuff. Those are always hilarious. But this one was extremely nerdy, which I totally felt like. And Ravi in this episode, I love how Ravi is like the wannabe cool nerd. Like, we all know that Ravi's a freaking nerd. But then he just felt like there was lesser nerds, and he was like, these nerds. But he was totally a part of that group. He's just trying to be the cool nerd that steps on the edge, you know, hangs out with all the popular. He's the popular nerd, as we would say. I just found that hilarious when we were watching this episode. But, yeah, so, this episode all centered around D&D, and I will be 100% honest with you, I've always been interested in D&D, sorry, got a little there, but I've always been interested, because I have a few friends that play, and it's just so interesting to know that somebody controls, it just seems like a very interesting game, is what I'll say, and I've always wanted to play it once, but just seeing how this was going and seeing the whole group get into it, besides Peyton, she wasn't too into it, but it seemed like she was still going on to see what's going on later on in this episode. I'm getting sidetracked because I just like talking about what happened at the end of the episode. But we saw that a bunch of, like, nerds from the police station, which we saw the freaking goth guy that we saw from a previous episode, I'm forgetting his name right now. We saw the sketchbook guy, which was hilarious when he was talking to Liv, which we saw later in the episode when they were questioning all of them, that he had a very sexy Liv drawing that totally reminded me of her, of Liv being Black Canary, which I thought was kind of cool. But I think it was more for the dominatrix case, because that's what they were working on. But, yeah, so I thought that was hilarious. So, what happens is they're all playing D&D, the freaking Dungeon Master, is that what he's called? Or the, you know, the guy that controls the whole story was, falls dead and is, like, super poisoned. And I was really interested to see if one of those nerd peeps was actually going to be the murderer. But it turns out that none of them were. But I felt like they nailed that group of people really well. Like, I loved it. Like, it seemed like they were really close. They were so into the game. They were all very nerdy. And I love how there was one chick in the group and all of the guys had a thing for her. Because that is, like, not stereotypical, but I feel like that has happened in many, many groups before. Actually, it might be very stereotypical because, like, you know, you're just kind of, yeah, it's probably stereotypical, right? Like, just the nerdy guys. There's the one girl that actually hangs out with them, so they all fall in love with her. That's exactly what happened in this episode. Probably stereotypical, yeah. So I like that. I just thought they nailed that really well. Also, for all of you dreamers out there like, oh man, I could never get a girl. She picked probably like the less appealing guy in this. Like, it just goes to show you that girls care more about, I guess, power, not power or stuff, but they care more about personality than looks, because that guy wasn't super charming, and he was like the biggest guy of the group, and he got the girl. So bada bing, bada boom, if you ever feel bad about yourself, just watch this episode. Although he died, so maybe you don't want to be that guy. Anyways, like I said, this episode was just very nerdy, and we got to see Liv become the dungeon master, and it's just, again, Rose McIver, every personality, like, she blows me away every freaking episode with the things she does. Like, I just loved how she was so into this character, and just seeing her, I just love the interrogation scene so much, because she's always showing off that personality of the suspects, and the suspects are like, how do you, like, you know they're freaking out, because they're like, that's exactly something the other guy would say. But I don't know, I just really loved her in this episode. I loved when they went to the comic book shop, and Clive was all like, oh yeah, the Flash. I love the Flash Easter egg, since we're on CW, so we know that that kind of thing's going on. I don't think they would ever cross over, because it's very different comic, I mean, it's Vertigo and DC, but I still love that there was like that slight freaking, you know, Easter egg of the Flash, and, you know, all of that jazz. So that was really cool, and just being in comic shops is always really awesome. And then we saw the girl worked in a comic shop, which, you know, kind of brought everything around, and we found out the painting, so it made it look like she was a suspect. But then Liv had a vision of her and the dungeon master, you know, knocking boots. So she was just like, oh, what, how did anybody say that? Sorry, I feel like I'm getting off track, but we found out later in the episode that none of the nerdy peeps were actually murderers, which I was kind of happy about, because I just felt, I was like, who would of them would have killed that guy, you know what I mean? Like, why are you going to kill the only people that are going to play D&D with you, you know? How freaking hard it is to replace a good, committed player sometimes in games. It's really hard. I've tried it. I've had groups of people try to play video games before, and then one dips out, and it's so hard to find somebody that's reliable. But we found out dude was like a super hacker or something, and had like a, you know, crazy hidden lair where he was hacking Russians and stuff like that, and I'm very interested to see where that's gonna go, because if he was trying to break into like Russian spy bases or whatever, and he got killed like in his own house, that's pretty gangster. So I want to see what angle that's going with, if that has anything to do with everything else that we're talking about, or everything else that's going on, because I feel like we got a bunch of big things going on right now. We got stuff going on at Filmore Graves, we got what happened at the end of this episode, which I'll talk about in a little bit, and then we have like now this Russia cyber thing, and then, oh yes, freaking Clive, this is an FBI case now. Sorry, I just got really excited because I completely didn't write it down, but remembered that Clive's freaking love interest came back on this episode, and I was just like, what? Like, you know, Clive was so in love with that girl, and then you know, everything happened at the end of season 2, and she dipped out, and they weren't together anymore, but he came back, or she came back, and I am really interested to see what's going to happen there now, because right now, everybody seems like they're getting in a relationship of some sort, and Clive and her, I thought, had great chemistry, so I want to see, I'm hoping that, you know, that little flame gets restarted. Before I move on from all the nerdiness of this episode, loved how Ravi was doing everything in the game to save Peyton, but like, I don't know, man. I feel bad for Ravi sometimes, because you know that he loves Peyton. It's just that you're just not fitting right now. Like, things are just not going well for them. But like I said, Rachel's coming into the picture. I hope Rachel stays around, because she was a cutie, and Peyton's just got a lot of stuff going on right now. Freaking Ravi and Peyton, we'll deal with that next season. Let Ravi have a new love interest this season, right now, because that thing just needs to cool down a bit, and hopefully they'll get their senses together. But I love that Ravi was still like, oh, I try to save her and do this, and like, I don't know. Dungeons & Dragons, just like I said, seems like a very interesting game if you had like the right fun people to play with, and, you know, I guess a good dungeon master or whatever. I don't know. I'm interested. I want to play that sometime, but it's like a really big commitment, and like I said, there's a lot. It's very hard to get committed people to do stuff like that. Moving on to Blaine in this episode. Like I said, there was some stuff that connected from the previous episodes, like the stuff with his dad. I'm telling you, we saw that scene where he was playing his music and feeding his dad brains. I feel like his dad is going to escape that well. But in the time being, we see that he's taking over the market, and he has recreated Ravi's blue juice, but he's let it soak for 20 days instead of 10, and apparently the trips are extremely long, like even longer than Liv's, from what we're seeing. And we know that Ravi is actually soaking that guy's brain right now, which I think is going to happen on the next episode. Got the burps. But I think that's going to happen on the next episode is she's actually going to eat the brain of that guy that hung himself that's dealing with the whole Peyton case and all of that jazz that has to do with the dominatrix. So we know that the longer that a brain soaks in Ravi's blue juice, that the stronger the visions get. Because if I'm not mistaken, the guy that always does all the drugs, the drug dealer on the episode, said he had like a 2-hour trip and it was extremely intense, and we saw Donnie take a big scoop of the brain, way more than that other guy did, and apparently his trips were insane. So I'm assuming with this blue juice, the longer duration that you soak the brain and the more you eat, the stronger the trips. And we saw Donnie going crazy and everybody's like, what the hell? So Blaine seems to have a new freaking market. Like I told you guys, I knew he was stealing that to make his brain business even better. Now he's got a huge empire that he's working with, and now he's gonna have these new brains to like really make people feel like they're that actual person. So I'm gonna be really intrigued to see where his business goes and you know, what he starts doing. But a new player has returned to the game. We saw at the end of this episode that Mr. Boss has returned. He has a gun and he has some scores to settle, and we know he hates Blaine and he wants to kill Peyton. So it's going to be really interesting to see what's going to happen over these next few episodes, because he says he has some scores to settle and that's all he's doing in this city right now. So I don't know. We'll see if Blaine's going to die, or yeah, I don't know. I don't think Blaine's going to die, but it's going to be really interesting to see who Mr. Boss goes after first. Also, I had this theory that Mr. Boss is involved in the whole stuff going on with Peyton with the memory card and the guy killing himself and everything like that. So we're going to finally see if that's going to come to, you know, the surface or whatever. I couldn't think of a phrase. So I'm really, I don't know. I feel like everything's just picking up, and that's what I love about this show. Like, I just feel like everything starts happening at the right time. And I don't know, everything's building right now, and I just can't wait for it to go BOOM! Before I talk about the last thing, I just want to mention Major real quick. We saw that Ravi's been hiding all of his mail, I guess his fan mail, from being the Chaos Killer. And he kind of was just, I don't know, I feel like, Major did something that I think a lot of people would do. I think a lot of us don't want to see the bad things in life. And, you know, he went through something crazy and he got all this hate mail. But, like, I know sometimes I shy away from, like, reading my comments, especially if I know it's going to be, like, a very controversial topic, just because I'm like, why would you want to read hate and stupid comments all day? But there are some times that I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to dive into it and see what everybody's saying. And there's a lot of, like, you know, actors or, like, sports players or a lot of people that say they don't read, like, the articles or they don't read the comments. But I think everybody has that moment every once in a while that you're just like, I want to see what everybody's saying. And I felt like that's what Major did. And he was kind of trying to make the best of it, you know, kind of making jokes about everything. And then he found that one letter from that very cute girl that says she's been through something crazy too. So now we got Liv over here dating Justin and all that jazz, and then maybe Major is gonna, you know, hook up with this chick over here that's been through something crazy too. So I'm really interested to see where that's gonna go. Lastly, I want to talk about Filmore Graves and Chase Graves, who is the new leader of that whole thing since lady person died in the helicopter. I think that Chase Graves wants a zombie D-Day to happen. That is my biggest thing. I think he wants to get, like, all the people that are trying to kill everybody on that message board, I think he wants to find them to stop them from having D-Day. I feel like Chase Graves and that whole company is actually doing something on the side that's not, you know, not what everybody believes. He just seems really shady, don't you think? Like, he's all like, what is the information, and blah, 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 blah. And I think we saw that somebody tried to kill the mayor in this episode. I'm calling setup. Even with the explosion in the helicopter, I'm calling setup, and I think it's all Chase Graves. I think he is a bad guy in disguise. Like, he's making it think that he's trying to set up all of these freaking, like, oh, we're gonna protect zombies and blah, that jazz. No, I think he wants freaking D-Day to happen so zombies can rule the world. That is just my theory. I want to know what you guys think it is. I feel like all of this crap right now going on with the military is totally a setup. Anyways, guys, you know I want to know your thoughts and theories on this episode and last week's episode, so do make sure to leave those in the comment sections down below. Also, if you want to support the channel, you can check out the Patreon like these awesome people did, or you can do the OG thing and give this video a like and share it with all of your iZombie buddies. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for all things nerdy and geeky on this channel. As always, I'm your host, JUICEbox. Remember, when you wake up in the morning, ask yourself something. Have I had my daily dose of juice? See you guys next time. Bam!